A now former U.S. diplomat in Mexico has admitted that for more than 14 years he'd been drugging and then raping numerous women. He pleaded guilty to filming at least 23 victims and could spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Brian Jeffrey Raymond is now on trial back at home in the U.S., having worked for his government for 23 years in various missions across the world. Other than that, we don't know much about his diplomatic career. The FBI launched an investigation into him after he abruptly left Mexico last year, shortly after a nude woman was seen screaming for help from the balcony of his Mexico City apartment. She says she doesn't remember what happened the night before, except that he'd offered her food and drinks. Eventually, the federal agents obtained warrants to search his home in the U.S. and was able to comb through his electronic devices, leading to a number of serious charges.
In March 2020, approximately 2 months before his interaction with AV7, Raymond also texted the same friend mentioned above about having sexual intercourse with AV9. AV9 is a resident of Mexico and primarily a Spanish speaker. He texted the same friend that he had to pay for an Uber for AV9 and expressed that it was annoying but ultimately worthwhile because he was able to have sex with her.
Raymond could face life in prison if convicted, and the Justice Department is adamant on sending a tough message.
Brian Raymond betrayed the trust granted to him as a U.S. government employee representing the United States abroad by engaging in years of predatory conduct, sexually abusing, exploiting and recording vulnerable women he targeted in the United States and around the world. As demonstrated by Raymond's prosecution and plea, the Department of Justice and its law enforcement partners will use all of the tools at our disposal to hold accountable those who victimize women.
Despite the severity of the allegations, the confessions, and the potential impact on America's global reputation, for some reason, the mainstream media is not talking much about this story. I wonder why.
Mainstream media completely ignores a story as big as this. That becomes what we would call all over the world propaganda, where your media, your news reporting has become an arm of a political party or of a political faction. When we have to rely on foreign media outlets, on anybody else, on regular civilians here in the U.S. trying to post desperately stories like this, because that is public interest. Much of the questions regarding, did the FBI know about this? How many years? Did they sweep this under the rug and still allow security clearance, top secret clearance to go through for this person, knowing what they knew? I mean, are they in essence responsible? I mean, in a court of law with a crime of this magnitude, if somebody knew about this and allowed the person to continue perpetuating these criminal acts by staying into that position, they'd call that aiding and abetting. They would call that they would call that either a conspiracy, a knowledge to commit this act, or at the very least aiding a felon. And so these are things that we need to know.